It's the most wonderful time of the year. With the kids jingle bells.
Merry Christmas!
Looks like Martha Stewart threw up in here.
This is delicious, honey.
It's a little dry.
Well, mine's delicious.
Mine's dry.
Do you want to trade?
It's
Christmas. It's Christmas. It's Christmas.
with those holiday greetings and gifts.
How we were going to survive Christmas with 12 people stuck in a house with no heat and no electricity.
Or food.
There's plenty of leftovers, Howard.
Beer it is.
It's the weirdest thing. There's no cars, no people.
How long can this keep up?
We heard something on the roof.
What the hell is this?
St. Nicholas is not coming this year. Instead, a much darker, ancient spirit.
Those are hooves. Elk or goat?
What kind of goat walks on its hind legs?
His name is Krampus. He and his helpers did not come to give, but to take.
Everybody, hold on to each other.
He is the shadow of St. Nicholas.
It's Christmas. Nothing bad's gonna happen on Christmas.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the entertainment headquarters, and welcome to a very special festive review for you. And as you can see, the film we're about to talk about is one of my favorite, I guess. It's become quickly one of my favourite movies over this festive period. It is, of course, Krampus. So Krampus came out in 2015, and it was directed by Michael Dougherty, who also did Trick or Treat, which is another cult classic. And, of course, he did the 2019 Godzilla King of the Monsters. And to talk about this movie, I have a panel of amazing guests. We have, of course, Mr. DJ Anubis of the Metal Tavern Radio. And then we have from Anthony Jordan Movies and Gaming, Mr. Anthony Jordan. And, of course, we have Mr. Tony of the Dead. So how are you gentlemen doing on this fine festive night?
It's daytime here.
Yeah.
Well, it's not where I am. It's actually cold as hell. So I've got a nice hot cup of chocolate.
Yeah, it is pretty cold here.
Yeah, it's
down
cold.
In the 40s now.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we'll just go around the room. We'll start with Mr. DJ Anubis. When was the first time you had heard or seen Krampus?
Probably was upon its release. I mean, I didn't see it in the theater or anything, but I do remember seeing the trailers back then. And of course, very familiar with Toni Collette and Adam Scott from different projects and movies they were in. So I was eager to look at it. The idea of Krampus was a nice one. And, you know, you had other movies at the time, like there was the, Christmas anthology that dealt with Krampus. So a lot of things were coming out at that time about Krampus. So I checked it out, really liked it, appreciated what he was going for. A lot of fun.
Yes. Anthony Jordan.
Well, I heard about it when it first came out, but I wasn't really following horror as close then. And doing YouTube wasn't even an afterthought, much less a priority then. So I hadn't watched it. when I started getting back into, I knew it was always one I was going to come back to until you did this, and I was like, perfect. This is finally my excuse to watch it.
Oh, cool. Mr. Tony of the Dead.
Same as Anubis, probably like when it first came out. I didn't see any trailers though. I think I went right into it blind. So I didn't even know who was in it. But yeah, probably then. And then I think last night to watch it it was probably the second time I've only ever seen it, because I know I've only ever watched it one time, but I remember liking it. But I got to rewatch it again last night. So
yeah, cool. Well, I remember when this first came out in 2015, and I actually went to the theaters, and it was a really pleasant surprise. It was one of them days where I went out to get some last minute or the beginning, of my Christmas shopping for family, and the city centre was just rammed. It was ridiculously busy, and I just got sick and tired of queuing and all the people bumping into us. I felt like I was on a football field, never mind going Christmas shopping. So I just happened to pass my local independent theatre, because the way I live, there's about three big theatres, cinemas in my city centre. But there is a smaller independent one, and I happened to walk past it, and I was so annoyed with the queues that when I walked past, I'd seen the poster for Krampus actually on the wall next to where the cinema is, and I had seen it was something like 2:15, and at 2:30 they were going to show the next screening of Krampus. So I just happened to go in. I thought, you know what, I'm going to check this movie out. And then when I finished that, get back, if I could be bothered, get back and do the rest of my Christmas shopping. But I ended up seeing this movie in the theatre, the traditional classic theatre, which is still old school. It's still got all the old, architecture inside. It was on the big screen. There's a balcony as well where you can look out and watch the movies as well. So it was a really nice surprise. I love the concept of this. And because of, this movie, I think Krampus has always been like this urban legend, this mystical character. But for me, I think this film gave him a lot more respect to that character and that lore. And I do think he's now become more popular as times went by. So what do you think of like the character of Krampus and what he's meant to represent? DJ Anubis.
Well, I like that they reference him as like a shadow of Santa. So it's basically like Santa is like an angel and he's like the devil, the heir apparent to Santa Claus. And like I was mentioning that anthology that came around the same time, like, you actually had Santa fighting Krampus. So it's like, I love the idea behind it, that this is just like the alter ego, the dark side of Santa Claus. So I love that concept. It's very cool.
Yeah. Anthony Jordan?
It's fascinating. I find it really interesting, and like a lot of mythology or legends that date back to older times, it's just a morality tale, and where Santa comes to reward good kids, Krampus comes to take bad kids away. It's a very fascinating mythology, and the movie did it in a very interesting way.
Definitely. Tony of the Dead, have you got much interest in the lore and the history of Krampus?
I just know kind of like from the movies, I've read some stories here and there, but they're all kind of the same. And I know what Nubis is talking about, the Christmas Horror Story, it's called.
Yes.
And that's that's a great horror Christmas anthology. But I don't know which one's scarier. This one's creepier looking, but yeah, Krampus. I don't know about the lore with I don't know if like it's all accurate with the toys and the elves and stuff, but like either way, it's pretty cool. in the movie.
Yeah, I do know, like, if you look over at the Netherlands, that actually, I think around this time of year, the beginning of December or the end of the end of November, they do a Krampus parade where they have people dressed up as the character Krampus, and they go along and they do like a massive parade around the streets, jingling the bells and doing dances, and that they make a proper big deal out of Krampus over there. So he's clearly a figure that means a lot to that region of the world.
Yeah.
But obviously Michael Dougherty, he did Trick or Treat way back, which has become one of my favourite films. It's an anthology that I do watch regularly every Halloween. There's been rumours for years that there's going to be a second one, but there has been a number of graphic novels / sequels, spin-offs. They did the Trick or Treat Day of the Dead, and then of course after that he's now followed that up with Krampus. Now Krampus also had a prequel graphic novel called The Shadow of Saint Nick, which actually included a mall Santa, and it was all about Krampus terrorizing a mall on a snowy storm, and there's a disgruntled mall Santa, and it's basically it could have been made into a direct sequel or a prequel to this particular film, because it is set before this movie and it is set in the same town. And as you know, throughout this movie there's a massive snowstorm that happens. So basically the Krampus graphic novel was kind of the prequel that from this, where it shows you the start of the snowstorm at the mall. So let's get into it and talk about the 2015 Krampus. So the plot synopsis is very simple. So a boy who has a bad Christmas accidentally summons a festive demon to his family home. So it can't get any simpler than that. This film, like I said, was directed by Michael Dougherty. It was written by Todd Casey, Michael Dougherty, and Zach Shields. And it stars Adam Scott, Toni Collette, David Koechner, I believe is the name of the actor. And it also stars in Allison Tolman, Conchata Ferrell, Emjay Anthony, who is also the star of a series that me and DJ Anubis have actually recently reviewed the first 2 episodes for, Hysteria, which stars Bruce Campbell. So we need to finish that at some point as well, the rest of that show. Stefania LaVie Owen and Krista Stadler. So where would you like to start when it comes to this movie? DJ Anubis, where would you like to start?
Well, the funny thing about the film, especially starting off, is it has a very much of either a Jingle All the Way or a Christmas Vacation vibe about it. Like the families are disruptive, they're chaotic, they got a lot of crap going on. They're in the mall trying to shop, and the kids are like outrageous. And then, of course, we shortly get the in-laws that come in, and that's exactly like a parallel to Christmas Vacation. They're a bigger mess, and obviously, Toni Collette's character Sarah is like not happy about that, especially when the mother shows up. It's like, oh god, like why? Who didn't you tell me to bring her? It's like Jesus. So there's already like this disruptive vibe about the family and the relations and everything else. And of course you got this young boy who's trying desperately to have a good time, and he's really excited about Christmas, and he's writing his letter to Santa, but no one else is really caring that much about it in that way. So yeah, it's a pretty cool opening. It gets you right in the mood right away with all the different family dynamics. The kids are a mess, especially who's the big one that gets the gingerbread man?
This guy.
Pugly. Yeah. It's like Pugly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Augustus Group.
Yeah, Augustus Group, yeah. Like I agree, like with this movie, it does very much, you think it could be like maybe a darker spin-off from Christmas Vacation, because in that you had Uncle Eddie and his brood of kids who, you know, are like misfits, and you know, and then you've got Griswold, who's trying to make like the perfect Christmas, like the perfect, but obviously he's trying to make it look perfect, feel perfect, where, you know, underneath it all, it isn't perfect. And basically that is what Toni Collette's character, the mother, is trying to do. She's trying to create this image of this perfect family at Christmas time, where underneath it all, they've all got their own faults. And like you see at the beginning, it starts off at the mall where, you know, it's extremely busy. They're going to like this family photo shoot. And what I found hilarious is that scene where she hangs the photo up, came back, and she looks at the photo, and you've got the Santa basically looking at the daughter's tits, breasts, and then she rolls her eyes, which I found really funny. Yeah. So Anthony Jordan, what's your take on like the beginning of this movie?
I have to agree with Anubis. It does have like it does kind of feel like Christmas Vacation a little in the beginning. And it does take a decent amount of time establishing a little bit about each character without just putting it too in your face, whether it be the kid who's trying to be traditional, who just wants to enjoy Christmas, the grandmother who clearly has a dark secret in her past, and you can tell that off the bat, the dysfunctional relatives, even like the mother who, while how she is, where she's like, you can't even see even this the main family unit isn't all that perfect, and how the mother comes across as snobby without realizing she's coming snobby. It's just a lot of good fun character dynamics, mixing and matching all these characters.
Yeah, I agree. Anthony, Mr. Tony of the Dead, your feelings on the beginning of the movie?
Oh, I forgot about how that started, and it's crazy, like especially the music in the background. It's like all this happy Christmas music, and everybody's just fighting. I mean, it's really a glimpse of something you don't see anymore too. It's kind of like in Jingle All the Way, you're never gonna see that again as long as like they're online. But like it's just crazy, like that stuff was real.
I've noticed with modern day Christmas movies, they don't really grab us the way the classics do. Like the classic movies were always like, this feel organic and genuine with the disagreements and how families really blended together and how they operated back then. Where a lot of modern movies, when they do have similar situations with arguing family, it feels kind of forced. It doesn't feel real. It feels kind of like it's been like they've put it purposely together just to get some sort of reaction, instead of like, if you look at the dynamics in this and then dynamics in Christmas Vacations, or even something like Uncle Buck, where you've got the crazy uncle who comes to look after the kids, and the parents are basically worried all the time because they're like, can he do this? And just the genuine bond and the relationships that were built in Uncle Buck, which that's what I like about Michael Dougherty, the director, because he's clearly a fan of like John Hughes, because this film feels like a John Hughes horror movie, a horror comedy. Like if John Hughes were to have made a horror movie, this is the kind of horror movie I could imagine he would have made.
I could see that.
Yeah, and it's like, because I've seen elements of Uncle Buck in this, like you've said, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, Jingle All the Way, stuff of that nature, of course, Home Alone. And obviously you can tell that Michael Dougherty is a fan of those movies.
since you mentioned that, he really needs to complete the unofficial trilogy and do a Thanksgiving horror movie.
Or or he could do a Easter horror movie with a psychotic Easter bunny or something.
Yeah.
Or bunnies from outer space or something, where, you know, an alien spaceship crashes on Easter Sunday and there just happen to be fucking killer alien bunny rabbits, something of that nature. I could see him doing. But yes, so the movie starts 3 days before Christmas. And the family's called the Angle family. And the parents are Tom and Sarah, the daughter is Beth, and the son is Max. And Tom's mother is called Omni. Which I find hilarious because we have a friend called Omni. And, you know, they're preparing for the holidays despite, you know, the family dysfunctionality. Max still believes in Santa Claus. And he decides to write Santa a letter. And, of course, then the relatives rock up. You've got his sister, Linda. Tom's sister, Linda, rocks up with her husband, Howard, and their children, Howdy, Junior. Then you've got Jordan. You've got the baby Chrissy, and you've got twins, Sarah, and you've got twins as well. And then, of course, they've brought the bulldog Rosie with them. Now, when you're first introduced to the family, you know straight away that the uncle's going to be like some sort of prick. The way he goes on, and like he clearly wants like he feels like he's had like some sort of military background or something, because he's very regimented with the way he's brought up the kids. And obviously there is it's kind of hinted that he wanted the twins to be boys, and he was hoping that they were going to be men, which I found hilarious. But obviously during this time, Max, the son, he's basically wants a perfect family Christmas. And then there's arguments, there's fighting among the cousins, and then there's the twins steal his letter. And when they steal the letter, they read it out, and basically he says some hurtful things about the family. And then he's so pissed off that, you know, he's basically, his cousins have ruined his family Christmas. He's angry that he then gets his letter and he rips it up and it flies out of the window. And it ends up in the hands of Krampus. Which...
You know, I thought that letter was fine. I thought it sounded like nice things. And then they got pissed off about it. And then he wrote,
Well, I think what the issue was is that because they read it out, it exposed things people didn't want to expose, which was unfortunate.
Yeah.
And also toxic people tend to respond to just kindness, like just wishing better for them with more negativity.
Yeah.
So it states Max wants to maintain the family traditions, but tensions among his relatives sap their Christmas spirit. When his cousins mockingly read out his letter to Santa, Max lashes out, yelling that he hates both his family and his belief in Christmas. So, of course, the letter is then, it tosses out the window, and then it lifts up and is swept away into the sky. And later on, a blizzard hit. The blizzard engulfs the town, and there's a massive power outage, which spells the arrival of the Krampus. Who I love the Krampus. I love him that much. I even bought myself a Krampus t-shirt. Because I'm a freak and I'm a geek. Both in the sheets and out of the sheets.
Prove it.
Well, you can't. That's one thing you can't order off Terra Sweet Toys. So obviously, what happens next there is with the power outage in the horrendous storm. The sister decides she wants. I think is she going to go visit her boyfriend or a boy she likes?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
He wasn't responding on texts, so she went out to go to his house.
Yeah. And she, the parents don't really want to go out, but she doesn't really want to stay because the family dynamics are horrendous. There's tension in the house because of the arguing that took place. And the next thing you know, she's out there in the middle of the storm. And when she arrives at the house, it looks like it's been just demolished. It's been like a wreck. And that's when she notices on the roof of one of the houses that there's something there. And it happens to be the Krampus. Which
I like how he just accentuates the Krampus.
The Krampus. Yes. And when she sees the Krampus, of course, she shits her pants. And she decides to run away. Which, she runs and runs and runs under this snowy blizzard where she eventually hides underneath a car. Because either a car or a truck. And you do kind of see the shadows of something lingering around.
I think it was that DHL truck.
Yes, the
delivery guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then he delivered stuff, and then she looked in there, and he was all frozen. He was an innocent bystander.
Yes.
He dropped his shit off, and there's like this big bag of like presents on this fucking porch.
Yes. And she's under there, and then eventually you just see like is it the Jack in the Box that's winding up?
Yeah.
And then yeah, and when the Jack in the Box is winding open up, you just hear her screaming. It's clearly she gets devoured by whatever's in the Jack in the Box. So straight away you had the family dynamic. You had like the Griswold's Christmas, and now it's slowly turning into a darker story. So what's your a thoughts on like how it goes from that to like the horror elements? Tony of the Dead.
I like it. I like that. I mean, it's like Anubis said too. It's cold here. Like right now, it's 24 degrees. I watched this last night, and it's like I was out there watching that, like out in the snow watching because it was so cold. But it like has like a dark element because it's starting to get dark there as well, which isn't natural. And then just like the fact that you can't see across the street, so it's like your vision is impaired, and you could see Krampus on the roof, but it's like, what is that? And it's just jumping out roof to roof, and then she goes underneath there, and I kind of think though that like she got screwed over out of a good kill. Like if she's gonna be the first one, and we don't see it, I wish we could have seen something, or at least I wish she would have made it back. I think she got taken out too quickly.
Yeah.
Usually in these situations, the sister helps the younger brother kind of thing, and here she just gets taken out right away. But yeah, it's pretty scary. But I like the whole, horror. I mean, no heat, no electricity. We have leftovers. Beer it is. It's like, what's wrong with her food? It didn't look bad to me. And he said it was dry, but yeah, Uncle Eddie,
yeah. Anthony Jordan, your thoughts?
I liked it. Like it was very abrupt, and it just changed on a dime, but it felt natural. And even like the first time I'm watching this, like I watched it on my phone in my room, and it was pretty cold that night, and I had the window open, so that cold just nailed the atmosphere. And I love the pacing of this scene, how the sister quickly realizes something's wrong. We see Krampus jumping from roof to roof. Then she hides under the truck, and we see that Jack in the Box is left, and we don't see what happened to her, but it's one of those, ultimately later on we do see what ultimately happens, and it was just a great way to just, okay, this is the scenario now, here are the stakes, and it just laid them out very clear and very quick.
Yeah. So for me personally, these are my favourite scenes in the film. The starting scenes, with how it all starts off. Anubis, your thoughts on like how it quickly turned from like the comedy family dynamic to like slowly becoming a very serious dark horror film?
It was okay. Expected. You know what Krampus is all about when you get into a movie like that, so you kind of know. I will say that like you didn't really expect her, the daughter, to like get taken that fast. Like you kind of expected her maybe to get back home first and say, "Hey, there's something out there." You know, that's what you were kind of expecting. But no, she got caught. You know, by the Jack in the Box, and whatever happened from there. But that's the kind of cool thing, is that it just keeps unraveling as it goes along, and there's more surprises. Like the next thing you see is the hook and the gingerbread man, which is pretty funny. So it's like I like that aspect of it.
What I like is the next scene. The next scenes are probably my favourite in it, because it gives you like this really horror element, like even further into the horror aspects. Is of course because she doesn't return home, and there's a horrendous storm outside. So Howard and the uncle decide, Tom and Howard, I believe. No, Tom is the dad, Howard is the uncle. They decide to venture out to look for her. And it's when they arrive at the boyfriend's house that they look at the chimney. The chimney's been totally ripped apart. It's been totally destroyed. And they're seeing there's like hoof prints in the snow. So they know that something is happened, and they know that it's very serious, it's very dark. And this is when they start wandering around and looking, and that's when more horror elements start to happen. Like Howard's feet suddenly get trapped in the snow, and there's something biting down on him, which I don't think you ever find out what it is that's biting on him.
Tell me that scene wasn't inspired by Tremors.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The graboids. Yeah. I had that. Like, I was thinking, what possibly could it have been? Like, I'm trying to think of like a Christmas item that it could have been that was haunting them in the snow. Like, obviously, we know what the Jack in the Box is. We've seen the angel, we've seen the bear, we've seen the gingerbread cookies.
Which is like the little Bruce Campbell's or the little Ash Williams in Army of Darkness. That's what it reminded me of.
Yes. So I don't know what it is that was hunting him in the snow. But so anyway, once the field rescue happens, they then make their way back to the house. And it's when they get back to the house where Howard's been mauled by whatever was in the snow. And, they know something terrible is out there. And they're very, very scared. They don't know what it is. And then this is when when they're all sitting around having a good old time after, being mauled, this is when Omni explains that the creature hunting them is the Krampus. And she basically tells the story of when she was a child in Europe during the war, how, she was in a very bad place, and she lost her parents to the monster Krampus. So, yeah. Right. So that was me. That was me father just popping in just to check up on us. I'm fine, by the way. I haven't been mauled by the Krampus.
You're a good boy.
One of the fan theories for what's grabbing them under the snow is that it's actually Krampus himself.
Like, that's the only thing that was never explained, what was grabbing them from underneath the snow.
Yeah, I don't even know if it was Krampus. Like, he had so many little minions and stuff, that trolls and whatnot, was like kind of funny. So I don't know. It's hard to say.
Remember, one of them fell in it too, and it ate one of them. So whatever it is, whoever falls in the snow is fair game.
Very true. It could have been a graboid. It could have been a graboid. But according to what I'm reading, yeah, all it says is Tom narrowly saves Howard from an unseen monster in the snow. They return to home, board up the windows, and Howard stands guard while everyone sleeps. As Howard eventually falls asleep, a large hook with a living gingerbread man lures Howdy Jr. to the chimney. Now, this scene was, for me, like, this definitely was inspired by Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Oh, yeah.
100%. How you had the gingerbread man, you had the fat kid who just basically couldn't stop being a greedy little bastard.
What a fucking weird kid, man. He creeps me out. Like Max,
it's like two different things. Like you just said, he reminds me a little bit of the guy from Harry Potter's cousin, who was always eating shit. and then you had what was the other one I was thinking of? Oh, Beetlejuice, an original Beetlejuice, when he's got the zag nut and he's like getting that fly. He's like, oh yeah, got a zag nut for you.
Yeah. Well, one thing that's always appetizing is a fucking big gingerbread cookie on a rusty chain hanging out, like that.
Yes.
Let's be real. If Krampus hadn't shown up, that kid was always going to win a Darwin Award.
Oh yeah.
Well, here's another fun fact for you. The actor who plays the youngest son, he's actually also in Trick or Treat. He's the kid he's the kid who eats the candy, which I believe he gets poisoned by and he dies.
Are you sure? I don't think that's the same kid.
It's the same kid.
I'm going to look that up. I don't believe you.
So he plays a fat kid in both movies and he gets killed by sweets in both movies, basically.
I don't know if you know this, but usually people gain weight to be fat, but it doesn't really work out. If you're fat, you can't play a thin guy.
That's very true.
Unless you have a super tight girdle, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But then you're big tits, so then you have to play
a drag queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, so as you know, he gets basically dragged up the chimney and by the Krampus's hook, which for me was some of the most, I don't know why, even though it was terrifying, it was also very entertaining.
I thought for sure he was going to be split in half going up that chimney because everyone was tugging more on. It's like he's going to be cut in half. He's going to be cut in half.
It was the right combination of doing it for the horror and playing it for laughs.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's obviously, despite the family trying to save him, he's then dragged up into the chimney. Omni then explains, that the creatures hunting them is Krampus, and an ancient demon who punishes those who have lost their Christmas spirit. When Omni was a child, her family and community lost their spirit due to the hardships of the war in Europe. Omni also lost hope and wished for her parents to be taken away, summoning the Krampus. He and his helpers dragged everyone except her to hell, leaving behind a spell-shaped bauble with his name on it.
Mm-hmm.
So,
by the way, I don't mean to cut you off, but that's not the same kid.
Is it not?
It's Maverick Flack, and the only thing he's been in is Krampus.
Oh, cool.
But he does look like him, though.
They could pass for brothers.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been. I would have found that hilarious if it was the same kid.
I like that kid.
I would be a bit worried about Michael Dougherty though, because it's like he likes to kill kids in these movies.
That scene where the grandmother explains what happened, didn't that look like something Tim Burton would direct?
Definitely. I love that scene, and I love how it's explained.
Yeah, that animation is really like a cool animation.
I wouldn't mind seeing them do her story in a full prequel just in that style.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. I wouldn't mind them turning the graphic novel, The Shadow of St. Nicholas, into an actual prequel film, because it's directly events in that. It's directly before the events of this film. Oh, so that's him now, is it?
That's him now, yeah.
Oh, cool.
Which the opening credits there basically is a riot at the mall, so they do tie in really well together.
Yeah. So obviously, and then when obviously in the movie, when you see the snowstorm engulf the town, you actually engulfs around the mall first, and you see all the glass and the mall freeze up, so you can't actually see out of the glass because it's all frozen over. It's similar to, like, I would imagine it would have been a similar scene to like that film The Mist, where they were in the store and they can't actually see outside, and if they go outside they get killed.
Yeah.
So I would have loved to have seen a film like The Mist, but with the Krampus, with similar elements. Whenever they went outside into the snow and they went through the fog, something would grab them, and they could have maybe explained what the hell the thing is in the snow.
Yeah, that would have been cool if they could have got further than their house and that, like their plan actually to get to the mall. I would have liked to have seen that too.
Mm-hmm.
Did you look on IMDb and see who those little elves are? One of them is Seth Green.
One of them I heard about that because I think it was maybe it was Seth or somebody else.
Well, another one is the guy that did the voice of Rick Sanchez on oh my God, why am I blanking on the name of that? You know what I mean, Rick and Morty. That's what it is.
All right. Rick and Morty. Yeah,
he's canceled. That guy's canceled now though, because I think he was talking to a young girl. So,
oh God,
something like that.
Oh well, he deserved to be cancelled, prick.
Prick.
Yes.
Prick.
Yes. So the Krampus, and his helpers would drag people to hell once, the ones who had lost the Christmas spirit. The family's still very skeptical. They think it's all horseshit, basically, especially the uncle. The uncle just thinks that the nana, the grandma, is out of her mind. But how do you explain your son getting, going after a gingerbread man and then getting dragged up the chimney by a giant freaking hook? If that doesn't convince you that there's something hellish out there, I don't know what would. But obviously, so once that's all done, and they're all kind of still in shock, Jordan, one of the kids, is suddenly devoured by the jack-o'-lantern. Or the Deer Clown, as it is also known as. These scenes for me were quite terrifying as well when they're up on the roof, when they go into the roof, when they separate, when they hear noises in the roof, they go up, and then Jordan, the two twins, go into the attic, and this is where shit goes down, where the jack-o'-lantern is finally
Jack
revealed.
in the Box.
Jack in the
Not
Box.
Jack-o'-lantern. Christmas, not Halloween. Damn it.
Yes. So
that thing's terrifying.
That thing is terrifying. The Jack in the Box. And you also have this thing.
The Jack Me Hoffer.
Yeah.
So this is the psychotic bear. Now, I found this even more terrifying.
Yeah.
The angel.
Yeah, that thing, it's just the way it's screaming and attacking it. It's pretty scary.
But I love the scenes in the kitchen more with the
yeah.
with the cookies. I thought the cookie scene was the best.
Their laughing was great.
Every one of these creatures had so much character.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you know those particular scenes in the kitchen with the uncle. So they went up into the attic to try and save the twins after they're suddenly attacked by the Jack in the Box and the angel and the bear. He's left in the kitchen to try and survive the cookie attack. But what I loved about it, it gave me vibes of the Gremlins.
Yep.
Yeah, I've seen elements of the Gremlins in those particular scenes because they're just like...
There's actually a little bit of everything in this because, you just showed that scene with the little cookies in the ice skate. Like, that's something that was kind of like we saw with Army of Darkness with the mini ashes. And then I know, Kevin, you'll remember this when we reviewed Cemetery Man. The ending is a lot like that.
Yes. Oh, the ending in this is very much like Cemetery Man.
Yeah.
Which,
I think
it
looks like Dougherty was a big fan of a lot of these other films, And
yeah, definitely. Like I said at the beginning, I think Michael Dougherty is very much a fan of a lot of old school film directors and movies like Gremlins. This is basically like his version of Gremlins in National Lampoon, just kind of talking all the elements from these old school movies and trying to blend them in to make a fantastic, for me, Christmas classic. So as the plot progresses, obviously, one by one they get taken out by these creatures, and then suddenly the elves arrive. Now the elves I found creepy as hell when they burst through the window. And you had the stupid, I think it's the auntie, is it the auntie? Or the mother?
Yeah, the aunt was standing by the window.
Yeah, she is hilarious, mind. She's got the shotgun. And she gets wrapped up in, I think she's tied to the back of the jack-o'-lantern, not jack-o'-lantern, Jack in the Box. Which actually fell through the ceiling. Because it was fucking too heavy, because it was fat, it was full, basically.
Yeah.
And it's, the tie the auntie and the newborn baby, and the uncle jumps on the back of it, and they basically get taken out.
Yeah.
And this is when they decide that they need to try and escape and leave the house in the middle of this horrendous snowstorm. So they run out of the house, but as they leave the house, you then are finally confronted and you finally see your first full-form glimpse of what the Krampus looks like. Which these scenes for me were fantastic. I think the puppet area of the Krampus, because I watched the makings of Krampus, because I do actually have Krampus on Blu-ray. So this has like a making of feature of the pup. So even though this film did reasonably well in theaters, I think it should have done a lot better in theaters because it did. This is one of them films that I do think gets underappreciated for the amount of effort and detail that was put into it. So like I say, you've got this amazing scene where the Omni meets the Krampus, who I think instantly recognises her from being the same girl from many years ago. That's amazing. So, you've got the Krampus in all his glory. And believe it or not, I'm going to show you this image. So there's his eyes, which were all obviously remote controlled, the eyes. But if you see just under his nose there, he has like what looks like a round circle, like a round like scar or something. Yeah. Above the mustache. That is actually holes for the actor inside the costume, so he could see where to walk.
Oh, really?
So that is actually that little hole of just down from the main eye, right next to the nose, just above next to the beginning of, I guess, the mustache, the beard. That little hole there is one of the eye sockets for the actor.
I love how he's basically wearing a flesh mask.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's not his real face for sure.
Definitely.
I wish you could have seen it though.
I think it'll just be like a skull or something.
I think it kind of would probably be like maybe like a snake. It kind of like a kind of like gecko eyes almost. Like lizard eyes, maybe. I don't know.
Spider or something.
Yeah. It'd be too obvious. Everything is spiders, you know. What if he was just made up of like Oogie Boogie? He was just made up of all like
maggots and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, these are some of the more like traditional images of what he's been depicted as.
Mm-hmm. But the Krampus, though, for me, I love the design of the Krampus because he is like the dark, evil version of Santa Claus in this film. That's basically what they've made him out to be, with the hump on the back. And he's got like chains and that wrapped around his red coat, which I think just makes him stand out even more. But of course, what happens is when Krampus emerges from the fireplace, he attacks Omni with a bag of toys, which all come alive and attack her. Outside, Tom, Sarah, and Linda are dragged under the snow by the snow monster, while Stevie is captured by the dark elves. So that only leaves one person left, and that is Max. And Max decides to confront the Krampus. So I've really enjoyed these scenes where he has this conversation with the Krampus. And he's trying to basically say, you know, I regret what I've said. I do have my Christmas spirit, and I wish you would just reverse everything.
Yeah.
Which, unfortunately for him, does not work. You know.
I forgot about that part. He's crying. I thought he was gonna like show compassion, like, oh, he's crying, he feels bad. And he just laughed like that. I was like, ooh. Like, fuck you, kid.
Yeah. No soup for you.
He basically does the same of what the Nana did. So the Nana obviously lost that Christmas spirit back in Europe, back during like them harsh times. And he always must leave one child, you know, alive to basically tell the story of Krampus to keep his legacy going. And he did the exact same thing what he did with the grandmother. He gave Max a piece of paper, and in it was the black bauble with his name on, Krampus. And you basically think that's it. You think, right, the Krampus is off. He's about to basically, you know, get on his sleigh or whatever and fly off into the night sky and, you know, probably terrorize another family. But Max decides to chase after them. And he confronts the Krampus one more time. But this time, things don't go well. And there's a massive opening opens in the ground, and Max is thrown in, and you believe this is the end. And it goes to black. The next thing you know, he awakens in his bed on Christmas morning, and upon discovering his family are alive and well, you know, he thinks everything's back to normal, but suddenly he just has this eerie feeling, and you can tell by the grandmother's face that nothing's right, like something's still not right. And that's when they seem to look out the window, and when you look out the window, you just see a snowstorm or a snowy day. And then that's when it's revealed that the Krampus bauble is still there in the house, so he knows the events that happened weren't a dream. It generally did happen.
When they look at it, it's like they all start remembering.
They start remembering the night before. Yeah, and the memories of the horrific events start to kind of zone in on them. And the house is then shown through magical surveillance snow globe, along with hundreds of others in a vast collection in Krampus's underworld lair in the mountains of Central Europe. for him to monitor and spy on for having spared them. So that is the end of Krampus, which it ends on quite an eerie, mystical note, and it also leaves it open for a sequel, which there has yet to be a sequel made. But overall, we'll go around overall. DJ Nubis, your overall thoughts on Krampus?
I enjoy it a lot. I think it does have some pacing issues for me, but outside of that, it's like still very much a fun film. And Dougherty is pretty good at being very creative with mixing comedy and horror together. So I enjoy his work. So the film is pretty good for me. I don't have any issues really with it.
Anthony Jordan.
I enjoyed it. It shows that, PG-13 horror can actually work with the right director, that you can still build effective atmosphere. And I love, it does have an open-ended ending. And I actually looked some stuff up, and there are actually two predominant, fan theories. The one was what you mentioned, where he's kind of going to be watching over them and they'll be looking over their back for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
The other fan theory is that they actually were all taking, and he kind of got his wish for a traditional Christmas, but in the most terrifying way possible, because they're going to be stuck in that moment for eternity.
It's like a Wishmaster type of thing. He's like, I'll grant your wish, but you're going to be a morbid wish.
Both, I think, are equally interesting. And if we were to get a sequel, I would just focus on new characters, because I'd rather leave that aspect of it ambiguous.
Definitely. I could see it literally being like an anthology film series where each entry is its own story with its own unique characters, and each story it's teaching you a lesson on life, or if someone's a selfish person, it shows you the repercussions for being selfish, and or if you hurt other people, it's going to show you these are the consequences for hurting other people. That was going to be my next question. I was going to ask, do you think the Krampus is a villain?
Well, yeah,
of course. Yeah.
See, I personally, I think he's in some ways an anti-hero, because he's teaching people life lessons. Max kind of blew his shit. He was annoyed that, he wasn't going to have the Christmas that, he wanted, and he told everybody he hated them. So these were the consequences of his actions. So all of this technically was on him for the events.
Yeah, but to be an anti-hero means you'd have to have some sort of good side. So, for instance, when Toni said he was expecting Krampus to kind of show leniency by not throwing him in the pit, then you could probably say, well, okay, maybe he has a soft side. He says, okay, I can understand where this kid's coming from. But instead, he just said, bye. He just fucked with them the entire time. So, yeah, I mean, the kid is at fault, and any kid that loses their spirit. But I mean, they're kids. You expect kids to have doubt and to grow. So I don't know. I think he's still pretty much a villain. I don't think he's really anti-hero, in my opinion.
Yeah, he likes to play with mind games. You don't know, you see how this ended. With them now gaining the memories of the night before, and they're all technically still alive, but are they constantly for their eternity going to be trapped in that house over a Christmas setting, or can they carry on and live a normal life, but knowing that at any moment the Krampus can return and take it all away again?
I think both possibilities are equally terrifying in different ways.
See, I took the ending. I didn't think of the other way that you said. I took it as they are trapped there, and now all those other ones are people that are trapped, but whether they know it or not, we don't know. But maybe they are. That's how I took it, and I think that's terrifying, just to be stuck there. More than I can handle him watching me over my shoulder the rest of my life, as long as I can live a life. But if you're stuck in that house on
See, I like that concept, though, that theory that Anthony put. So I agree with Tony. I think it's more just like a wishmaster thing. Like he gave the kid what he wanted. It was like a good Christmas, but there's a price to pay, and that's to be locked in that freaking book globe for the rest of their eternity.
Yeah.
But the theory that Anthony said about, you know, they actually are back to normal life, but that it's just Krampus kind of watching over them the entire rest of their history. Well, it's a cool theory. I think it's not something I even thought about, which is nice, but I think it's the other one more than the first one.
Yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. So in all, how would you rate this? Anthony Jordan, what would you rate Krampus?
Probably maybe a 8.5 to a 9 out of 10. There's not a whole lot of Christmas horror movies out there, and there's even less actual good ones, and this one does have could potentially be the best of the lot.
Mr. Tony the Dead, what would you rate it?
Well, I would say I agree with Anubis too about the pacing. I feel like toward the end they started just taking off people really quick, like the parents and that, and it's like, let's get to the whole thing with Max at the end. I think maybe they had to do that for time or something. I don't know, but so yeah, I would say 7 dark elves out of 10 for me.
7 out of 10.
Yeah,
right.
I really do like it though. I think it's a really good movie.
DJ Anubis.
I give it an 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I would give this an 8 out of 10. Like you say, it does have slight pacing issues. That's probably my only negative, but I really like this because of the hard work that was put into it. It does feel like Michael Dougherty, just like he did with King of the Monsters, just like he did with Trick or Treat. He put a lot of effort into making this just a fun movie. And I wish he would direct more movies. He seems to be a writer and a producer more on television than he is of a film. I know he did write a little bit of the story for The New Empire. I do know he was involved in that, like in the writing rooms. The same with, I think, Godzilla versus Kong. I think he wrote a part of the story for that one. But I think they use him because he knows his lore. He knows the Godzilla lore. He knows about the kaiju and how they work. So I think he's had a lot to do with that as well. I would like to see a sequel to this, to Krampus, or a prequel, or like you say, just keep making sequels, but make them all standalone anthology movies. That's what I would like to see come from the Krampus. But yeah, I've had a fun time talking about this, one of my favourite holiday films. I probably will watch this later at some point this week. But Mr. Tony the Dead, what is coming up on your channel? Anything exciting?
Well, I think we're still gonna do ghouls this month. I'm not sure. I didn't feel right the other day, so we didn't get to record it, but we have to plan a day to do that. And then the only other thing I have really is my video I'm gonna do with all my everything I got for pickups and that since like October.
Oh, so cool.
That's going to be a long video. I'm actually thinking of just taking the Vinegar Syndrome stuff out of it and make one video for that, because there's so much of that.
That will be fun.
Yeah, we'll see. But other than that, nothing till January, really.
Oh, cool. With that, Anthony Jordan, what's coming up on your channel?
I'm probably just going to take it, just be quiet for the rest of the month and just come back stronger in January.
Absolutely. Mr. DJ Anubis.
Let's see. So tomorrow, I'm going to go probably, even though I don't know if I'm going to review it or not, I'm going to go see Kraven the Hunter. And then Godzilla Unmade, that's tomorrow, right, Kevin?
Yes. Yeah.
So we'll be doing that on your channel. Then next week, hopefully Tony is not sick, and so we can finally get Free Jack, because I actually watched that and I kind of enjoyed it.
Good.
Thursday, Mr. Anthony and I will get together for King Ghidorah, our kaiju spotlight. And I may, at 20th, I was planning on doing my top 10 movies of 2024, but I'm hearing so many good things about Nosferatu that I might have to put it off until after I see that. I'm hearing it's like one of the best films ever right now. And I'm afraid that even if I like Craven, I don't want to miss out on Nosferatu making my top 10. So
yeah, the lot gets released on Christmas Day, I believe, over in the States. Over here in the good old UK, it actually gets released on New Year's Day. So it actually technically will be one of the first films I see of 2025. But I still might, even though it's set to be released over here that day, I still probably would class it as a 2024 movie, because technically its first official releases on Christmas Day 2024. So I might include that in my top 10 of 2024. But I don't know if you've got time, Anubis, but I think we're trying to get a Come in Peace done as well for the Retro Classic.
You still didn't do that?
Well, we haven't done that, and we still have to do Savage Dawn for cinematic, and then we're supposed to do Kamanga as well. So I just we have to find a day to do that stuff, knock it out.
Next stop, Kamanga.
I mean, I did have Icon Peace on the 27th. Is that still
was
a thing?
it? Yeah, I can probably still make that. Yeah, if you want to do it that day.
Yeah.
So as for me in the entertainment headquarters, what is coming up is, of course, tomorrow we have a Kaiju Connection segment where we will be talking about unproduced and unmade Godzilla movies. It's going to be a segment called Godzilla Unmade. Like Mr. DJ Anubis has just mentioned, we will be doing Come in Peace. It's the next retro classic movie show segment. And then leading into the new year, I have got a couple of things planned. The first one is the audience choice winner, because I think it was October time I did a poll for the next Kaiju Connections classic movie review, and it's going to be The Giant Behemoth. Which is, I'm looking forward to that one, because it's another unreally talked about British Kaiju movie.
Is it Planes, Trains, and Christmas Vacation tonight?
Yes, I was about to mention that. And then, of course, also planned for January, the next retro classic movie show is DJ Anubis's pick, and it is going to be the 13 Warrior, which is Antonio Banderas, I believe. And then as Mr. And then, of course, as Mr. Anthony Jordan has mentioned tonight, I'm doing another Christmas special, but the time this goes up, that might be up as well. It's going to be the Christmas special where we talk about trains, planes, and automobiles, and we talk about National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. So in the UK, believe it or not, Trains, Planes, and Automobiles is classed as a Christmas movie, which we'll talk about. But of course, it is actually a Thanksgiving film. But we don't celebrate Thanksgiving in the UK. We've got enough fucking holidays. Then add in another one. But anyway, gentlemen,
you call it Boxing Day, right?
That's the day after Christmas.
Oh, the day after.
That's called Boxing Day.
The tradition actually states back it would be customary for the masters and servants of the house to switch places for a day.
Wow.
Yes, that's Boxing Day. Where do you not celebrate Boxing Day in America?
They celebrate it in Canada, but not in America.
Oh, well.
We haven't caught on yet, I guess. We abolished that long time ago.
But anyway, gentlemen. But, this has been a blast. I love talking Krampus with my friends. But we'll catch us all at the next one, which, I think I forgot to mention, because this is a part of Into the Darkness segment. The next the darkness segment, which will be happening in January, is The Grudge. Forgot to mention that one as well. But like I say, this has been the entertainment headquarters. This has been a very special Christmas Into the Darkness segment. Keep loving your movies. Keep loving each other. Be good to each other this Christmas. And like I say, we'll catch us all at the next one.